Welcome to the Marketing Revolution podcast. This is the underground movement of savage marketers from all over the world. We are not Fortune 500 companies. We are real entrepreneurs with real businesses that have one major thing in mind: to set goals and devour them daily. Because we understand that everyone wants to eat, but only savage marketers are willing to do the hunt. Now let's get this revolution started.
What's going on?
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Marketing Revolution
What up,
podcast
everybody?
and the Marketing Savage Facebook group. Live today with the one and only Darian Stephens. How you doing, Darian?
What's going on? How's everybody going? How's everybody doing? Excuse me.
Hey, man. Yeah, dude. And I got an open link as well. We actually had to use Zoom today because I don't know if you guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but Texas is literally in a near complete shutdown. This is not realistic for a lot of us who live up in the northern states, where we will go to work with, like, as Darian knows, because he's from Michigan, we'll go to work with like 30 inches of snow on the top of our roof of our car and be driving around in like a minivan, like madmen, but in Texas, they're not equipped for this. So you guys are dealing with power outages. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's why I'm sitting in the truck right now. No power. All the restaurants nearby are shut down. I'm literally came in here, got my hotspot, got my laptop working out the truck. Got to make it happen. FYE, baby.
Yes, yeah, that's right. He's talking about fuck yo excuses. That's right.
Yes,
so, man, Darian, been wanting to get you on this podcast, man. Met you at Apex Executive a couple times and vibed really well with you, and realized that you were into that, that solid, positive energy. And we talk about that on this podcast. In fact, last week we had Mike Kempsky on here, who had written an entire book on energy, and he's actually down in your neck of the woods. He's in Frisco. We each and every week we bring in different guests and things like that, where we not only talk about like the power of, like you said, like fuck your excuses, you got to get shit done. We talk about motivational things. We also talk about how to utilize your energy, and not only that is to bring your light to the world and share it with other people and be able to light them up, because that's at the end of the day, that's really why we're doing what we're doing, is to, create a positive impact to the world in general, because we all want to live in a better place. And, that being said, man, introduce yourself a little bit, brother, and let us know a little bit about you, what you do, man. I know you're out in Texas, but tell us a little bit about what you do and what you got going on, man.
Yeah. So my name is Darian Stephens. 28 years old. I own a roofing and restoration company here in Dallas, Texas. I actually live in Plano, to be more specific. From Michigan by way of Ohio. I moved from Ohio when I was 13 to the Metro Detroit area, and I've been here since 2015, and life's been good. We've been on an upward path, and we're just gonna keep it going.
Yeah, my man. So
yeah.
Let me scrunch this down real quick. Okay, so we got some people writing comments. We got some people writing comments, jumping in, and all that. One of the things that we talk about quite a bit on this podcast, Darian, is just being able to shine your light on other people and being able to bring a positive impact to the world. And I know that you do a lot of that, man. You out there, you're changing lives, you're doing some motivational stuff. So I think one of the latest videos that I seen that everybody was sharing around was phenomenal, man. So let's talk a little bit about because, man, what you guys got to understand is Darian's doing really well, man. He's out there killing it. He's out there crushing it. He's hands-on. He's growing. He's exploding day in, day out. So what is it, man? Let's talk a little bit about your daily routine, what it takes to make Darian Stephens what you are today.
Absolutely. So first thing I do when I wake up, I always thank God, because like everybody is always like, hey, what's your purpose? You know what I mean? My purpose is today. Whatever I need to do today in the moment to get me closer to that ultimate goal, that's what I do. So I wake up, I thank God, brush my teeth, go work out, come back, read a little bit, do some personal development, and then I work for about 8 to 12 hours straight. Got to get that grind. got to collaborate with my team, got to work on my business. I'm still working in my business, you know. So just hustling, just getting it in. Like it's even been days where I hustled so hard, I fell asleep in my work clothes on the couch. But then that alarm clock, you know, went off. I had to do it all over again. So just falling in love with the process, falling in love with the daily routine, because the purpose is in what you do every single day. You know, obviously, you know, you have an end result, you have a place you're gonna go, and everybody gets to a certain point, but it's not about the destination. It's about what it took to get there. You know, and I just fell in love with my process. I like to see other people, you know, succeed as well. You know, and it's just a beautiful thing. We all just vibe off each other, and we just keep living. You know.
Yeah, man. So where'd you start
Yeah.
out, man? You know, speaking, you know, you came from Michigan and all of that. I mean, how did that happen? How does a guy go from Ohio to Michigan and then down to Dallas in 2015 and then, you know, make your mark in the world?
So back in so we lived in Lima, Ohio. My dad, he worked at the Ford plant there. My mom worked at General Dynamics. And if you remember, it seems like forever ago, but the big three, you know, Ford, GM, and Chrysler, were all talking about going into bankruptcy, and my dad's job was on the line. Fortunately for us, he was able to move and get promoted to the Dearborn location, which is Ford Motor Company's headquarters. And if you know, Ford is the only company that didn't get you know, the bailout. So we were fortunate enough, you know, my dad was able to keep his job. We moved to Michigan, and I moved there when I was 13 years old. From 13 to 22, I lived in Michigan. The reason why I moved to Dallas is for this business. A lot of people know this, but if you don't, I'm gonna just state it again. I was already on my hustle. I probably really got on my grind starting at like 20 years old in a positive way. And from 20 to 21, that's what led my path. And I found out about the 20 to 22, excuse me. I found out about the storm restoration industry at 22 after one of my businesses had failed. And then I came out here to Texas. That was even a struggle too, the first year. But then a year later, I started the business, you know, and it really blew up. 4 years later, here we are. Yep.
You know, man, there's a lot of similarities to
Yep.
everything that you're saying that I hope everybody's taking notes because, you know, we talk about success, we talk about motivation, we talk about, you know, all kinds of things on this podcast. And the similarities, number one, you know, what we heard is that Darian wakes up and gives thanks to God. That's gratitude right there. You know, that's A1A. That's literally, you know, if you awake, that's a gift right there. If you're able to wake up the next day, that's a gift right there. And if you're able to breathe, that's your second gift, right? And if you're able to stand up, walk, and go hit the pavement and work, right there's your third gift, right? So, you know, one of the keys to that is waking up with gratitude and getting your day set correctly. And another thing that we talk a lot about, Darian, is, you know, like you said, you are still working in your business, but you also, you know, you're working on your business, right? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs get caught
Yep.
in, or in fact, every entrepreneur, when you're building a business, there's a point where inside of your organization, you got to take off one hat at a time. And, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in only being the technician and only involved in the day-to-day work. But little by little, as you begin growing your organization and putting your team together, you'll take off one hat at a time and one hat at a time. And then
Absolutely.
one day you're looking to be at the point where you can find yourself actually becoming the entrepreneur of your business and just working on your business, man. You know, but that takes time. That takes time. And in fact, every business model, I mean, I'm on business number 6 right now, that I still currently seat and run. And every single one that I've had to build, I've had to be at the bottom level, the ground, building it up. I had to be the dude dropping the French fries, and you know, until I could become the manager. And then one day I was able to actually step out and become the entrepreneur.
That's it. That's what it's about, man. Like honestly, it took for me, the hardest thing was just letting go, right? Because in my business, the first 3 years, like it was just me. I was already like a high performing sales guy. Now I'm making all the profits, but I'm also wearing all the hats, and I also carry the weight load of doing everything it takes, you know, to serve my clients at the highest level. And at some point, my growth was too much for me to just do it alone, right? I think it was really good timing for me, particularly in joining Apex, because I really didn't have any, you know, skill in running a business with other people. And I was, you know, fortunate and very lucky, You know, and again, we talk about attraction, right? God always gives you what you need. So as I started to let go, it just seemed like people would pop up in my life and fill those places. And now I got my executive assistant, who's also my COO. Now we got a sales manager. Now we got like 7 or 8, 9 salespeople. And it's just all falling into place. I didn't look for these people. I didn't put out any resumes. Just word on the street, you know, especially with Corona. A lot of people are looking for opportunities. And again, like my boy Burton says, alignment. It just so happened that we all aligned together, and now we're growing this amazing business. So really just fortunate and grateful.
Yeah, see, I love what you said there, man, because
Yep.
I live by this thing, you know, where I leap and just know like the net's going to appear, right? It's like I'm going to jump off the
Yep.
edge of a building, and that's what an entrepreneur does. They jump off the edge of a building knowing or having the faith that that net is going to appear. You know, for the
Yep.
one distinguishing factor between successful and unsuccessful people is that successful people make decisions very quickly, and then they are very slow to change the decisions that they made. Unsuccessful people rarely, if they actually do make a decision, which they rarely do, they rarely commit, they change them rapidly and quickly, right? You know, so a lot of that is having the faith, because as an entrepreneur, when we make a
Absolutely.
decision, we got
Gotta
to
have
have
it.
the faith that these things are going to come together. And just like the seed that goes into the ground, you got to know that the nutrients are going to come. And is it going to be a struggle? Every seed's struggling, man. Like when it starts, you know, it comes out of its shell and it's fighting its way through dirt. Maybe it's got rocks to hit. It's got bugs coming at it, probably trying to fucking eat it while it's underground. You know, all this shit's
Yep.
happening. And then when you pop out underground, you got motherfuckers trying to piss on you. You got people trying to step on you. You got all this shit coming your way. But the entrepreneur has faith. You know what I
Good.
mean? Has faith. And I think what you said right there as well is putting yourself in the right environment. Because if you put a seed on the concrete, it ain't in that right environment. So when you stepped into Apex and you got around other business, other entrepreneurs, you put yourself in that room, you know, in that right environment to help
Absolutely.
that help that attraction, right?
Absolutely. You're talking about the parable of the sower. If you don't know this parable, I'll explain it. So, story in the Bible, right? And this guy had seeds, right? And some of the seeds fell on stones, and they were never able to grow. Some of the seeds, you know, went into the thorn bush, and they grew up, but they got choked out by the thorns, right? And then some of the seeds fell on good soil, right? Personally, in my life, my parents are good soil. My faith is good soil. My Apex family is good soil. So I need to constantly be in that good soil in order to grow, right? So make sure you're in that good soil, whatever you do, reading those books, watching these podcasts, just doing your affirmations, praying, focusing, meditating, whatever you have to do, always stay in good soil. That's the only way you can grow.
Yeah, man. So, you know, and we do I don't know if you know this, but I actually do a Savage Sunday sermon every week. So we take different
There you
Bible
go.
quotes and break them down. I'm going to have to go
Yeah,
after that one, man. I'm going to have to make that one of the Savage Sunday
yeah.
sermons. This last week, my wife made me do it
That's it.
on love. So I did a quote specifically about love, and it's amazing. I show everybody, it's amazing, like how all of this stuff, like if you go back biblically, even to the beginning, man, like to the beginning of when the world was created, if you go back to that, it all has a very similar lesson that you can actually learn. You know, I mean, I always say you learn as much off of nature than you will, you know, learning from another person. It's just incredible once you become aware. And I spend a lot of time on this podcast taking people's stories and tying them into success. But the truth of the matter is, like, all of it has the same. I mean, I had Special Forces Zach Hughes on here a few weeks back, and we
There
were
you go.
we were breaking down his Special Forces team and how that is nearly identical to running a business correctly. You know how that entrepreneur
Absolutely.
drive is in all of this, right?
Yep.
So
It's funny you said nature because when I was little, I used to always play with bugs, right? I was just one of those kids, go out in the woods, and I would
yeah,
always be like, particularly like focused on ants. I would take like some snacks or some sugar. I would lay it outside. and I would watch ants and how they move, and they had systems, and I always thought it was very intriguing. If you can run your business like ants, you'll have a successful business, 100%.
Dude, I love it, man. You know why? Because everybody's got a job. Everybody's working in
Yep.
coordinates, right? And I don't see no ants bitching and complaining.
100%.
They got the same culture. You know,
They're
the
just
one group
working.
of ants is gonna get
Yeah,
along with that group of ants, you know.
that's it.
And they all servicing the queen, man.
That's it, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Or the king, rather, in this case.
Right, man. That's cool,
That's
man.
it.
So let me ask you something. What was the hardest part about your expansion? As far as getting, because you said something earlier that one of the biggest problems was letting go. And I think what we do as entrepreneurs, if you look at an organizational chart, and let's just say we're the person that's in every single one of them seats, meaning we're the CEO, we're the manager, we're the salesman, we're all of that, right? That's where everybody starts. And the problem is we look at it and we say, we do it better, right? So we think every piece of this organizational chart or every piece of this pie, we actually do it better. And little by little, we got to gain this trust and start bringing people into the operation. What was the hardest part for you when it came to your expansion on how to do that?
Again, man, just letting go. Like, I realized, like, when I needed to let go, I truly grew. It's kind of like when you're praying or you're meditating, the growth is in being still. I went from wearing a bunch of different hats, constantly moving, constantly, I'm busy, to having to stop, slow down, teach people the process, making sure they master it, making sure they got the attention they needed. And my business actually grew faster that way when I actually took the time to let go and be still. I think that's actually a parable for life. It's just kind of funny how that all, you hindsight 2020, right? You just connect the dots when you look back. But yeah, that's how I did it, and that's the path we're going, and it's just amazing, man. I just let go every day, and just more and more it comes. That's what
Man.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually a chapter in my book.
It's humbling too.
What's that again?
I said it's humbling too, because you kind of have like this ego, right? I'm good at this. I'm so great at this, and it's like, I need to let this go, right? Because if I keep holding on to this thing that I think I'm so great at, I'm only gonna hurt myself. We're here to impact as many lives as possible. Me teaching somebody else, that's an opportunity for them. Now we're providing for their family. Now I have the opportunity to be what I truly am in the first place, a visionary, and grow the business and work on the business instead of in the business. So letting go, man, that was the key.
Yeah, man. So I got an entire chapter of my book that's dedicated to that. It's called, I call my meditation ritual, I call it the spiritual surrender. And so I've got a specific series, a ritual that I do on an every daily basis. And I actually write about this in the book, but at the core of it, it started out with, I was reading Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning. And I don't know if you've read that book, but essentially,
I haven't yet.
You haven't yet? Okay. So Hal Elrod sets up kind of like a morning ritual. And then as I did it, I ended up, I think I'm on like day 1,000 something, So,
Wow.
yeah. So somewhere along.
We've been doing this for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So somewhere along the day, like 300 and something, and somewhere between 300 and 400.
Wow,
I changed it and I modified it to the way that I did it. And I added a bunch of stuff and I took away stuff and things like that and called it the spiritual surrender, because at the end of the day, this is what it's about. It's about letting go of the things that we don't have control over, letting go of thinking that we have control over other people's emotions, letting go of the fact that we think that, it's our job to make people happy, in fact, it's our job to become the best that we can possibly be so that we show up. We just naturally make them happy. You know what I mean? Learning leadership qualities. I always say, man, your mind is better at home. Your mind is always better at home. When you're directing your energy and your force outwards onto somebody else, you're taking valuable time that you could be harnessing the things that you need to sharpen inside. Because at the end of the day, if you just focus on manipulative techniques to get people to believe the way you believe or think that you want to believe, it's never going to end good, you know, because you need to take that time and you need to harness it and focus it down on you. And I think that's the surrender that a lot of us got to learn in life, is that, you know, the more we focus on us, I don't care if somebody came to me and said, man, I got marriage problems. You know what I'd tell them? I'd say, go focus on you. They'd be like, well, but she does this. And I'd be like, you know what? No, man, you go focus on you.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Nah, bro. You go home and go focus on you, and you come back and be a better man. You come back and be a more
100%.
solid fucking person, right? And as you become better, people will change around you.
Yep. 100%. So like, this is something that really hit home with me, and I learned this recently. My new sales manager, I brought him on because he says, we want to be more of a personal development company more than we are a roofing company.
I love it.
And that really just struck a chord with me, right? And what he taught me is, he's much older than I am, right? And I'm glad to have his experience and, you know, all the things he brings to the table. He says, wherever you go, there you are. I said, wow, bro. Wherever you go, there you are. So it's like, just to reiterate what you said, you got to focus on becoming the best version of yourself. You have to have what I like to call deliberate intention. I don't always wake up and, oh, I want to do this and do that. I have bad days too. You know, everybody likes to talk about like the good side of entrepreneurship and act like they're always in a constant, you know, positive mindset. But honestly, it takes work. It takes work to get out of that thinking. It takes work to grow and change your habits. It takes work to pray. I literally have to say, this time is set aside for me to do this every single day, and nothing is going to change me doing that every single day, whether it's my business, whether it's a crisis that people like to throw in your life or anything like that. I always make sure that I spend time with myself and grow.
Yeah, man. I like that you said that people try to throw in your life, because it's always somebody coming out the woodworks trying to stop and throw something in your life, you know? And you got to watch that. I think at every level, at least me, at every level I've experienced of growth, there's always going to be the ones that change around you. You know what I mean? So I always got to keep an eye out on my circle, you know, as I grow, because when I find the guy over there that's not cheering anymore for the wins, you know what I mean? Because I show up every day and cheer for everybody's fucking win. I've reconditioned my mind. You know, that's something that a lot of us early on had to change in our heart and our soul, is to realize that, you know, we want to cheer. We want people to win. I want every person. I want to take my hand down here on my knee, and I want Darian to step up on it so I can throw him up over the fence like we did when we were kids, you know, and then, you know what, so he can reach down and grab me and pull me over. You know, so many people in life, like there's two kinds of people. There's people that like go out and work hard to build the biggest building in the city, you know, and do everything right. And then there's people that just look for any building that's trying to like surpass them, and they try to tear every building down around them so they're the last one standing. And man, that scenario will come up at every level in life. It doesn't matter where you're at. That scenario will appear. And I just believe there's a certain bit of jealousy out there, and there's people out there that they start to hate success, or they start to look at like, you know, if my friend is more successful, then I'm going to have to reflect on the things that I do on a daily basis, right? This is going to cause me to self-reflect, you know. Oh, some younger cat's coming up, you know, and I'm 50 or whatever, right? And that's gonna make me reflect on all my life choices. Well, you know what? It should. Every day we should have to reflect on that. But we should be trying to bring people up. We should be trying to lift them up. And now have you had to deal with that at any level where where you're coming up and you got a group of friends and things just completely change? I mean, have you had to deal with that on your entrepreneur journey?
Man, 100%. So in that first year, I actually haven't even talked about this yet to anybody. So that first year that I moved here, right, I'm living at my auntie's house. I said, hey, can I stay at your place for about 3 months, trying to learn this business, trying to get on my feet? She's like, oh, yeah, sure, right? And I'm out here and people are back home are like, why did he move? He's still at his aunt's house, right? And then I started making money in my business with the company I was working for. And then they ended up screwing me over. At this point, I'm already moved out my auntie's house, so I can't go back. That was just the pride and the ego, you know what I mean? And I end up staying at one of my friend's girlfriend's mom's house, living in her garage on an air mattress. I was paying $200 a month, living at her house. And that's where I started Stonebriar Construction Group. I was at my lowest of the lows, and I really got to see who was really there for me. It was really just my parents, a handful of family members, but all my friends, you know, they really disappeared. Like, I really got to see what people's intentions were. I got to see how they really felt about me. I got to see people live out their dreams and their inner hatred of counting me out. And it was really an eye-opener for me. And then when I had success, had all these people run out of the woodwork. I said, how I go from having 0 friends to 1,000 friends, right? And being new to money, I'm just living and I don't care who's around. And that was also something I had to grow through again with getting and keeping the right people around me. I ended up becoming a lifeline for everybody around me, and it was completely draining. I was carrying the weight of, you know, probably 20, 30 people on a weekly basis. So, you know, that's why I joined Apex. I remember reaching out to Drewby, and I said, hey, man, like after probably like 8 months, I said, I'm finally ready. I've been carrying my friends too long. I've been carrying other people. It's time to grow and be around other people who are successful, where I can talk about my successes and not get looked at like I'm bragging, where I can talk about the things I'm going through because they've been through it, right? I was surrounded with people who are, you know, to be honest, below me, below my level. Now I'm surrounded by people who are at my level or way beyond me, right? So there's a huge blessing in that, right? And I'm just grateful.
Yeah. You know, I think people get afraid to surround themselves at a higher, like I want to be around people that are much higher level than me, you know? And, you know, they say, if you're the smartest person in the room, man, you need to get in another room. And I think that's that ego thing as well. Like, yeah, you know, I mean, I think that's that ego thing as well, where people want to be the top dog of their group and all this kind of stuff, man. I don't never want, if I'm the top dog of my group, man, I better be like the richest person in the world or something like that, because there's nobody left that I can go hang out with that's doing something better and bigger than me. Because, you know, the truth of the matter is, surrounding yourself with people that are doing bigger things, man, you just immediately level up. And I've seen that.
You have to.
You know what, bro? I'm you're saying, you know, I've got the same story, man. I see that with the Apex family over there. Yep. And man, and I recommend Apex. It's a phenomenal group, man. And the truth of the matter is, it's like when you surround yourself with that level of entrepreneurs, people you're not afraid to talk about your success with, and people that not only when you talk to your success with, they're cheering for you, man. And you're cheering for them, and we're 100%. All lifting each other up and trying to take each other to the next level is the type of group that you want to be around. And it showed me a lot that I was in the wrong groups, you know. And I'm not saying that I left everybody behind, but I'm saying there's a lot of people that I don't mess with anymore, just simply because of just that alone. You know what I mean? You got to be careful, because it's easy to get caught in a crab in the bucket situation where you got a bunch of, and do you know what the crab in the bucket is, Darian?
Absolutely. I come from a city of crabs in the bucket.
The whole city.
Man, crabs in the bucket. I think I've known that phrase since I was a child, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the podcasters know what I'm talking about, but for anybody who's new, the crab in the bucket basically means you throw 2 or 3 crabs in a bucket, one of them's not going to get out. The other crabs are just going to grab them, snag them up, and drag them back down. You know, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy that if you hang around a bunch of crab in the buckets, nobody's going to get out of that bucket. Nobody's going to help each other.
See, I never really focused, right? So G-Code, one of the G's is, right, is a group. And I never really applied that to my life until like right before Apex. And I'm not talking about just like, people. Well, I'm talking more particularly when it comes to like people and real interactions. Obviously, I had changed my mentality through the books I was reading, through the podcast I was watching, and, doing personal development on my own. But really, when I changed my group, my life changed. Like, it accelerated on a whole nother level. I call it having a quantum leap. I was going up, and then I got around the right people, and I went, psh. So like in the group, we got Burden, we got Kurt. I saw what they were doing in their businesses. It doubled my hustle. Like, I even started pounding the pavement more. I'm working on my business.
Yeah.
I'm getting aligned with the right people. It's going nuts. And it's incredible to watch that happen. I think that's probably one of the most important things out of the whole entire G code. Not to say that everything isn't, not to say that the other three aren't equally as important, but who you surround yourself with, I feel like has the most like weight when it comes to who you're going to be in the future.
Well, yeah,
100%.
and then it's also that thing where you don't want to let the group down, I mean, you come back to the group,
Absolutely.
you be a contributing member. When I was talking to Thomas, I was talking to him about this probably a couple months ago. Thomas Keenan, for some of you guys who know Thomas, he was on an earlier podcast, and he's specifically my business coach inside of Apex. And so I'm talking to Thomas about this, and I say, man, what I look at like Apex as, and we talk a lot about that. We talk a lot about the movement, that we got going on, and we just talk a lot about, Apex. And I was talking to him about, I look at it like, you remember back in the day, the Lion's Den, Ken Shamrock, the fight team, you ever remember the fight team, the Lion's Den?
It rings a bell, but I can't say I know what that is.
So basically, man, they were the baddest of the baddest, man. They were a fight team, literally. Like, every member came and was like a bad mamma jamma. You know what I mean? Like, you knew if you were going to fight a Lion's Den member, somebody who trained under Ken Shamrock, like, you knew you had a fight on your hands. I don't give a fuck where you were from. Like, anybody, from the guy at the bottom to the guy at the top, like, you have a fight on your hands, because these dudes, they train hard. They take their shit seriously. You know what I mean? And that's what I look at into that group specifically. Is that we literally come in there each and every week trying to be better and better and better, not only as a contributor of that movement in general, but, as a better version of ourselves, because we're surrounded by so many elite people. And it just makes you want to level up, because the more you level up each and every person, you know what I mean? The more that I can level up Darian, and the more that he can level me up, man, we both are going to come back and contribute to each other's success at a higher level. And
100%.
It's just it's a big difference. I think that this is a huge learning lesson on this podcast alone, of just the people that you surround yourself with. Man, so some of you listeners out there, guys, if y'all if you're not into a good crowd, a good crew, you're not surrounding yourself with the right people, that's literally going to overnight just take you to the next level. But you're going to also have some adversity, because where you got change and conflict, you're going to find growth. But you're going to have that change, and you're going to have that conflict. There's going to be some conflict there, but that's where you're going to find your growth.
100. And one thing I learned, my mom told me this, right? There's two pains in life. There's a pain of staying the same, and there's a pain of growth. You got to choose one.
You know, I always thought biblically, biblically, that's like, you're choosing, like, you're either going to have suffering, like where you put the suffering on yourself, man. You know what I mean? You choose your pain, right?
Yeah.
Or you're going to have like long suffering, where you got to like wake up with that shit every day. You got to like think about it. You know, all the way to the point we've seen people in society that have turned into living fucking zombies. Like they're walking around dead. Like, nothing is alive anymore, because they've accepted this thing about themselves, that they can't grow, that nothing's going to happen for them, that they've lost all of their purpose. Okay. And I had Tom Ziegler was on a podcast probably about a month ago. I had Tom Ziegler on here, which he's down in your neck of the woods as well. And what a brilliant individual. That's Zig Ziglar's son. And so we had Tom on here, and one of the coolest things that he said on this podcast is that the opposite of depression is not happiness. The opposite of depression is purpose.
Wow. That's it. That's it. And I learned this from John C. Maxwell. A lot of people say that life is all about the pursuit of happiness. That's not true. Life is about purpose. All the pain I've went through and growing, all the things I had to overcome, all the friendships I've lost. Like one of my best friends turned his back on me. I moved him out here to grow. That shit broke my heart. But I said, you know what? It's all good. I'm growing. I'm getting surrounded by better people. This is a part of my purpose. I can't have any feelings when it comes to purpose. It's no emotions with it. It's just straight savage. You know that firsthand. You got to be a savage. And I don't say that in a negative way. I say that in a positive way. When it comes to your purpose, you can't let anything get in the way. You got to be relentless every single day because it's all up to you. Another thing I learned, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. So I got to get it. I got to go. I got to keep going. You can't get in my way. Nothing can stop me. I always say this all the time. Can't stop, won't stop. That's it.
You know, I think that a lot of people, Darian, they waiting for somebody to come out and start pulling for them. You know what I mean? They're waiting for people to come out and start pulling for them. Don't ever wait for people to come out and start pulling for you because that ain't going to happen. You got to get out and start pulling for yourself. And maybe one day people start pulling for you. But man, I've rose up in entire industries, Darian, where I never had one person pulling for me that entire time. Like I knew that I was there to service the people. I wasn't there to be a part of the peers club. You know what I mean? And I didn't need their support. I didn't want their awards. I didn't need their shit. And quite frankly, you know, I think that it was a lesson that I needed to be taught early on that, you know, just because the guy next to you has a leg up or gets given a leg up, you know, it doesn't mean that you can't excel with hard work, you know, above and beyond anything, including the leg up that they was given.
That's huge. I hear so many people, especially where I'm from, talk about, oh, I didn't have this. Oh, I didn't have that. And I thought to myself, you know, because I come from a similar background. Like, obviously, we weren't super poor. I grew up middle class, right? But I didn't grow up in where I had all these connections and handouts and different stuff. It's even more of a testimony. I think it's a bigger blessing to start behind the 8-ball, because when you do make it, you can inspire way more people than somebody that it got handed to. That's ultimate purpose right there.
Mm-hmm. And they won't feel the accomplishment that you do. Like you said earlier, it's about the journey, right? You know, it's about who you become during that journey. And man, you know what I mean? Like, what the hardest metal is like forged over and over, layer after layer after layer after layer. So I look at the more challenges, you know what I mean? It's like an additional layer of metal that's forging your character and forging your soul over and over and over again. Man, that's some incredible learning lessons on this podcast, man.
Man, Proverbs, iron sharpens iron. That's all Apex is. That's all we're doing. Sharpening each other. I'm learning from you. You're learning from me. We learning from Tom. We learning from Ryan, Brian, Daryl. We all learn from each other. Just to be in that room is a blessing. If I was to be able to sit in that room and I wasn't able to speak to anybody, I'd be good.
Right. Yeah, man. Yeah. You know, I see
100%.
people. Yeah. I see people that volunteer to get into that room too, man. And they come every time, man. They come every time.
Yeah.
And so what Darian's talking about specifically, I know some of you guys have heard this on some of my previous podcasts, but we're both members of something called Apex Executive, which is the highest level of Ryan Stewman's Break Free Academy. And essentially what it is, it's a mastermind coaching program. And it's expensive. It's, you know, in all regards, to me, it was honestly like my very first business coach, man, was $5,000 a month. So that was the very first guy I ever hired as a business coach, was $5,000 a month. And, you know, but it was worth every penny of it. So when I got involved in Apex, I was like, man, you know, this is a little bit cheaper than my business coach. So I was like, shit, I was like, I feel like I'm saving money. And then, you know, let's see how it works out. And then getting involved with the entire group in there, man, there's just, you know, a lot of the people that I interview on this podcast come from Apex Executive. In fact, Zach Hughes, a few weeks ago, military ex-Green Beret, he was a speaker at Apex Executive, and you were talking about having Burton and having Kurt, and then also Tony, who was also part of the Linear roofing company, and Tony was on the
shout out Linear.
Yep. Linear. And Tony was on a podcast a few podcasts back, but it's kind of cool because, that this is like 3 roofing companies, right? General contracting companies, which would be you, Linear, and then I don't know what Burton's roofing company's name is.
It's called Newview.
Okay. Yeah. So, between the 3 of you guys, it's kind of cool to see 3 roofing companies in there, and you guys aren't at each other's throat or anything like that. Like, everybody's sharing, everybody's helping, I've never seen one moment where Burton or where, of course, where you or Kurt have ever at any point been like, oh my God, there's another roofing company in here. In fact, I think you guys find some synergy and y'all share with each other.
Absolutely. It's inspiring. All it did for me is say, man, I'm in the right freaking business. That's all it did for me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, man. Cause I would say Kurt, his roofing company, they're in all kinds of different states now and all that now, aren't they? I mean,
they blew up.
Yeah. And it's cool because I feel like you're doing it the same way. I mean, they talked about that. Tony talked about that on the last podcast, and he talked about how they just try to hire really good people that can that they can motivate and that they can make better. And kind of like you were talking about that you're more of a motivational or like a company rather than that of a lot of people run their companies with an iron fist and they're just shitty place to work. And you guys are doing it the opposite way. You guys are building a culture of people who actually want to learn, become motivated, and ideally that's who you want to surround yourself with. And that's the energy and the vibe I feel like you want to put out into the world. You don't want sleazy car salesmen like representing your company, right? Not saying all car salesmen are sleazy, but y'all know the ones I'm talking about, right? Them little import lots that are trying to sell you a BMW with 90,000 miles on it, right? And
right.
I'm talking about them type of car salesman, right? But man, that's pretty dope, bro. That's awesome, man. And I know we gotta cut out of the podcast here pretty soon. Is there anything you want to put out there for us? You got any books coming out? You got anything going down right now that you want to talk about before we jump off here?
So working on a couple different businesses, right?
Yeah.
Now that I got a little bit of money in my pocket, just working on a couple different things. I'm gonna be launching soon. Writing a book. Just doing what Ryan taught me and just taking notes on a voice recorder, and I'm gonna put it all together, right? But this year for me is really more about blowing this roofing company up. I got things in places for other businesses to grow, but all my attention and my focus is to grow myself, number 1. And number 2, to grow that business. Because if I really can put the focus and attention on this business this year, I won't have to work again. Even though I am going to work, essentially, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, it can really blow up. We can change a ton of lives. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and that's what we're working on.
Well, my man, we're starting off with a snowstorm in Dallas, man, with a very unusual weather. So I would suspect that the weather isn't going to get is going to continue to drum up some crazy shit down there. I mean, y'all get some intense weather situations, man. But
we get crazy weather,
and we're starting to get snow up here. We've had some very mild winters up where I live, but this winter is kind of like mimicking a winter that we had back in 2011, where we ended up getting massive amounts of hailstorms through this area. So
wow,
it's just what it is, man.
That's looking good, man.
Yeah, that was the 2011's.
Let it hail, man.
Yeah, 2011's the first year I did 4 million. Was my the first year that I actually even did 1 million, but I did 4 million in 2011, and that was my I own Dent Magic here in Ohio, Centerville, Ohio, and it was through automotive hail damage repair. And we had about 30 technicians working, and we rented. We got a factory back here behind me. And you remember Dayton Wire Rims?
Dayton Wire Rims.
Any Dr. Dre video
it rings a bell, but
Yeah, any Dr. Dre video you've ever seen with the
Oh,
Impalas and shit like that, they had Dayton's on them.
I think yeah. I
Yeah,
do now. I do
any
Dayton.
old school
You
hip
said
hop.
Dayton wiring, so it threw me off.
Yeah, any old
I
school
just
hip
know
hop.
him as Dayton's.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Dayton's. So any old so
Yeah.
we actually so Dayton's was kind of fading out in 2011, of course. You know, not as many people buying them. So we ended up renting half of their warehouse factory, and it was about the size of a football
Wow.
field. And we ran about 30 technicians, but we were able to store over 100 cars indoors during that time. And that's when
Wow.
everything went crazy for me, you know. So are you still with me, bro? Oh, there you go. You cut out a little bit.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I ended up getting a call.
You're good, man. You're good.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we're gonna go ahead and bounce out of here. And man, Darian, I appreciate the wisdom, dude. I really
appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, my man. I really think your story is gonna help a lot of people, and it's gonna be great, man. So I appreciate this awesome podcast. That was some true fire.
Absolutely.
And as usual, man, I'm gonna see you on that next one.
All right, we'll see you, man. It's a blessing to be here. Thank you.
All right, my man. Oh, there we go.